All right, everyone, good morning. Good morning and welcome. It's a true pleasure to see so many of you here today. My name is Niels Valdemar Winding. I'm Associate Professor at the Faculty of Theology, and I am, together with Maria Christiansen and Tim Rodbø, the co-presidents of the Society of Fellows. And at this point, I've got the first handwritten remarks, which is that I need to remember to thank Jonathan and Martin, our student assistants. It's that important. It couldn't have been done without them. Thank you very much. Yeah, well done. To those of you who are not yet familiar with the Society of Fellows, we're an association of alumni fellows from the UCPH Forward program. That means that we're just the ones who completed this wonderful program and then found ourselves with ample time on our hands. And we wanted to do more. So as a Society of Fellows, we work independently for the advancement of what we call academic citizenship, research leadership, and improved work-life balance. Those were the themes of the program that we wanted to continue. And we do so for the benefit of the university and beyond. Today, we come together to discuss what we consider the open challenges to research leadership. And it is by design that we open with open. Today is meant to be as broad and as curious as we can make it, and we hope to get input for and to facilitate further an honest conversation. The point is to identify the problems and challenges before we continue to solutions and remedies and resolving the problems, basically. You've all seen the program. We have 3 excellent keynote speakers with us today, and I don't want to add very much except a few practical remarks. We will, of course, be having a coffee break at 10:15. It's not in the program, but we will have it. And there will be more breakfast available up there. As advertised, we're recording this session today, and we're saving comments and questions so that we can learn from them. We'll keep this as anonymous as we can, but please be aware that if you stand up and speak and face the camera, you're likely to come into a video that we'll use for something creative and constructive at a later point. For this reason, to get feedback, we've also set up the Slido system, which can be as anonymous as you like, so we can have all the productive and inquisitive questions on screen regardless of who comments. You'll find instructions for Slido in the handout. That's at the very last page of the program. The sessions are already open, in particular the overall conversation that we hope to be able to continue, so you can drop comments and thoughts during the whole day, and we'll pick those up at the very end. That being said, I only have one more thing to do, which is introducing someone who doesn't need much of an introduction. We have the distinct pleasure of opening remarks from someone, a man who will have a huge influence on these issues as we go forward, a strong record of pioneering research and research leadership in his own right, and who will need all our constructive input, I think, in the years to come. Please welcome our Rector Magnificus from University of Copenhagen, David Dreyer Lassen.
Am I on?
Yes.
And I can tell you the organizers 10 minutes ago were concerned, are people going to show up? As you are with any good party, and people showed up. So congratulations on that. I have to say already now, run off after I've given my opening remarks, but I'm happy to see so many also from the University of Copenhagen leadership here, so they will take all the interesting insights and thoughts that you'll have throughout the day to me and to the rest of the leadership. So let's start with a quote you all know. Culture eats strategy for breakfast. This is from Peter Drucker, who brought a bit of Habsburg civilization into modern American management theory. And this conference is very much in keeping with the university's culture. An idea matures not in the head of a rector, but bottom up among a group of colleagues who think the idea, or rather question, may serve the university as a whole. How can research leadership be improved for the benefit of people and for the benefit of science? And this question, of course, is relevant not just in Copenhagen, but universally. And hence, I'm very pleased to welcome our keynote speakers, 2 of whom are here so far, from Manchester and ETH. We are crossing the fingers for the final one, coming in from the UK. Now, my own take on leadership has changed along the way. PhD student, assistant professor, associate professor, full professor, center director, chair of research council, and now in the rectorate. And basically what is known as Miles' law applies. Where you stand depends on where you sit. As a young researcher, my worldview, my sampling of experiences, if you will, was pretty limited, often restricted to myself. And as a leader, you gradually get to see the whole picture, or the full distribution of possible events and behaviors. Colleagues crying in the office, mails with sometimes disturbing language, long-term sick leaves, and everything like that. It's not a walk in the park, but it provides experience and it elevates leadership to a craft that no one can master overnight. Now, one of our friends, Louis Pasteur, who you know, said of the research process that chance favors the prepared mind. But his motto, of course, and I've used this to some of you before, isn't just a research method, it's also a management ethos. Only the trained eye is prepared to identify and handle opportunities and promising avenues, disagreements and problems, to think about both the individual and the group at the same time. And this is also an acknowledgement of the work done by our colleagues in human resources who run the courses where peers can learn from each other, including, of course, the UCPH Forward setup. And this conference, as we've heard already, aims at taking on the challenges openly, and we do have challenges. So the research assessment of the University of Copenhagen, conducted by an international panel visiting all departments, different panels, many of them, covering the years 2022 to 24. It included lots of praise for our great university. We're very happy about that. But in the executive summary, it also reads, and here I quote, challenges for some departments in recruiting and retaining research talents due to a lack of transparent career paths and tenure track options. And the panel recommends, I quote again, developing more comprehensive career development strategies for PhD students and postdocs, including leadership training and a more transparent system for internal promotion and career paths. And you will find similar things at universities elsewhere. They face the same structural condition over increased competition of funding and tenure. And maybe one additional structural condition in Denmark, the surge in the sheer volume of PhD students and the limited number of open faculty positions. Why is that? Faculty positions in a Humboldtian university are largely determined by the need for teaching resources. And the number of students are, in the Danish system, as we speak, pretty much fixed. So the competition for faculty position is increasing. In many places, having a temporary position may seem like a permanent condition, but it shouldn't be. Some will have a go at an academic career in Denmark or abroad. Others, they probably won't. Parts of research leadership is managing expectations and having honest, if not, and I'm speaking from experience, not always pleasant conversations about future careers. And there's a lot at stake here, not least the lives and well-being of our colleagues and students. So how are we training people, both in research leadership and in the research community, for addressing these challenges? In November, here at the university, we'll be organizing a workshop for our leadership team. We'll discuss again, but we're not there yet, transparency and promotion, criteria for merit, and what makes a department perform well whilst maintaining well-being. At some point, the leadership and the board, who have an active interest in this, will discuss how we can tweak the job content of leadership positions. For example, that of department head, but all the way through the chain, if you will. How can we make it even more interesting or appealing? At this point, we are considering 2 ideas that I would like to share with you. It's not rocket science, but here we are. One is, of course, a better leadership pipeline, and there are experience from across the university where researchers are gradually exposed to trying out leadership. So you can try it out, and it's perfectly okay to say, okay, this, this wasn't really me, and then return to doing something different. The second part is the idea of distributed leadership that is practiced already, where deputy heads are more and more responsible for different parts of the leadership responsibility. Maybe also the idea that sometimes non-faculty heads of administration, etc., can get more clout, because, and I think we all know this, Socrates isn't always the best administrator in a university. So at the same time, of course, we must adhere to the university culture of picking up ideas where we meet them, not only from this conference, also from initiatives from across the university, like the excellence and kindness in research training that is carried out at Sunds PhD School. Now, before I give the floor to Linda in a second, I have a final point, one that she also makes in her work, that research leadership is a complex enterprise. More often than not, it contains a lot of paradoxes. How do you lead people who are smarter than you? How do you lead towards goals in science you don't know in advance? How can you achieve the academic culture of critique in an inclusive and productive way? How can you reconcile the leader's perspective on good leadership with the different perspectives of the researchers, sometimes different perspectives? How can a department head return to her career in science without losing momentum? Some time ago, our head of human resources, Thomas Molin here at the university, he tried to map the many tasks and skills of research leadership that he had met around the university in a memo. He reached 46 bullet points. And chances are you will reach the same number or more than that today. But perhaps we can narrow the scope just a little bit. Preparing what I'm reading here, I read the UCPH forward booklet on leadership written by the researchers on the program. Now, the most frequent word characterizing a good environment. What was that? It was not integrity, that was in there. It was not humor, playfulness, and joy, they're runners up. It is curiosity. So how do you create an atmosphere which allows you to be curious and to have people say sometimes crazy stuff? I would say it takes a lot of trust, and trust is indeed another concept that comes up a lot in the booklet. So in conclusion, it is possible to think strategically about leadership and research culture. And instead of having culture eat strategy for breakfast, how about this? Let culture meet strategy for breakfast. And given that we're still early in the day, it is maybe a good time to start on that very meeting. So thank you very much and have a productive conference.